Welcome, friends, to another r/I don't work here lady video. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by Billiam201. I know it's your number, but... Quite some time ago, my girlfriend and I, now my wife of more than 15 years, moved in together and had to set up all the things. Cable, internet, phone, etc. We got our home phone number, our 2 cell phones, and we were off to the races. Almost immediately, we start getting calls for an establishment that does custom framing and various other art-related things. Let's call them Expo for Art. Of course, we had caller ID, and we had friends that would call us, but inevitably, if we didn't recognize the number, it was someone wanting to find out if their order was complete, or their frame was done, or what their hours were, or any of 1,000 other questions. I'm sure anyone else who has had this happen will recognize this exchange. Sorry, that's no longer their number, this is a residence. Yes, I'm sure. No, I'm not giving you my address. No, I don't know their new number. Yes, I have a phone book, but so do you. Eventually, after 1,000 of these, and changing the message on our answering machine to say, "This is not, I repeat not, Expo for Art. If you're trying to reach Expo for Art, please hang up. Look up their number and try that, because we aren't them." Eventually, I got my gazillionth call, and I asked the person on the other end of the line where they keep getting this number. They say, "Well, it's printed on my receipt. I guess I'll just call this other number." I ask, "Any chance you can give me that one?" "Thanks." I call it. They say, "Hello, Expo for Art." I say, "You guys are still giving out my home phone number on your receipts." They say, "Yeah, so?" I say, "Well, freaking stop it. It's been a year since you haven't had that number. At least cross it out or something." They say, "That's a pain in the butt. I'm not making my employees do that." I say, "So you're the manager?" They say, "I'm the owner." I say, "So let me see if I have this right. You, what was your name again? Let's call him Fred. You, Fred, have decided that it's too inconvenient to cross my home phone number off your receipts, so you're just going to keep giving it out?" They say, "Yep. What are you gonna do? Sue me?" I say, "Maybe." They say, "Whatever. I've got crap to do. Bye." I called a lawyer. Didn't really have a leg to stand on. I went to the store and asked for Fred. Fred's not here. He's hardly ever here, really. You want me to call him? I say, "No, I'm fine. I know this is going to sound odd, but is there any chance I can see one of your receipts?" She picks up a receipt book and shows it to me. Sure enough, it's got my phone number at the top, above another one. I say, "I thought so. I couldn't get you at the other number. Some guy yelled at me, and I didn't have my old receipt, so I had to come down here." They say, "We've been having that happen a lot, ever since Fred decided we didn't need 2 phone lines. But he had just bought like 20 boxes of these receipt books and business cards, and he's too cheap to buy more until they run out. I'd hate to be that guy." I say, "Yeah, that's gotta suck." So I went home and hatched my evil plan. Next phone number I didn't recognize, I say, "Hello, Expo for Art. Hi, this is Mary Smith. I dropped off a thing last week to be framed. Is it ready?" I say, "Let me check." "Yup, we finished it this morning. I hope you don't mind, but we decided to upgrade the matting because of the weight of the piece. It's the same color, and we won't be charging you for it, since it was my decision." They say, "Oh, thank you. I'll be down to pick it up later today. What time do you close?" I look down at the business card with my number and the hours clearly marked 11 to 4. I say, "Take your time. We'll be here until 7. She says, "Thank you so much. Can you tell me how much that was?" I say, $19.99, ma'am, plus tax, so $21.39. They say, "Wow, that's cheap. Are you sure?" I say, "Of course. If anyone has a problem, tell them you talked to Fred." They say, "Okay, see you around 6. I say, "See you then. Thank you for calling Expo for Art." For weeks, I kept giving out completely random information. How much is a 36 by 48 matted frame? Let's say $24.99. Wow, that's cheap. How much to have it done custom? How they want it? Custom is an extra $10, so $34.99. Wow, that's cheap. I'll be right down. What was your name? Fred. See you in 10, Fred. How much to have the entire front page of the New York Times from 9/11 mounted and framed? $33.99, unless you want our special proprietary newspaper frame and mat service. Only $49.99 and guaranteed for life. Only at Expo for Art. Tell them Fred sent you." I can only imagine the number of pissed off people who showed up to pick up orders that weren't ready, and when they finally were given a price way higher than what Fred had told them over the phone. Eventually, someone let slip that they called the number on the receipt, and that's what Fred had told them. Fred was not happy. "Hello, thank you for calling Expo for Art. This is Fred." "You're not Fred, I'm Fred. Are you trying to put me out of business?" "Why, Fred, whatever do you mean?" "Someone's been giving prices to my customers and telling them their orders are in when they're not due for weeks." "Well, Fred, who called them?" "Nobody called them, they called us." "Then what's the problem? If someone called you and got pricing information, that would seem to be your problem." "They didn't call me, they called you." "Well, how would that happen?" "Your number's on my receipts and business cards." My, it seems to me there's a very simple solution here. Take my number off your receipts and business cards. Do you have any idea how much promotional materials cost? Is it more than it costs to do these jobs for the prices you're quoting? Is it more than it costs to lose customers, or less than that? This is extortion. Call it what you want, Fred. The choices and consequences are entirely up to you. A week later, "Hello, Expo for Art, this is Fred. I've ordered new receipt books and cards. Can you please stop this BS? "Sure. Bye, Fred." So if this happened to you and you just completely took up on the plan of misinforming everybody that calls that number, and then Fred finally calls you up and says, "You win, I quit, I've changed all the promotional materials, your number's no longer on anything," do you still continue to misinform anybody that might be calling for Expo for Art? Because surely the receipts and stuff are still out there, there's probably still going to be calls coming in. Or considering you finally got them to change the receipts and stuff, do you hang your hat? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by an anonymous writer. Why hire special needs people? I use a cane to get around, and I attend a rather competitive program. But I'm also poor. Because food takes priority over Gucci jackets and handbags, I wear the same things I've worn since high school. While things will be looking up soon, I have to finish to get free of poverty. I'm sitting in an area of campus with a coffee shop and seating. I usually study there. The coffee shop employees know me well since I always sit there to study and chat and get caffeine. On this day, the janitor's doing a once-through of the place and we were chatting. He gets a call from his boss and he leaves his stuff on my table with permission. I'm drinking coffee reading. Some freshman comes in with clearly, "Daddy bought me my life I earned" clothing. Despite the actual wet floor sign being there, she ignores it, almost slips, and drops her iPhone. She immediately is furious, looks right at me. "Maybe you should finish before you take a break and dry the floor," and just walks past me in a huff. I'm all for hiring special needs people, but holy crap, at least make sure they do the job and are not taking advantage of the generosity. She says it loud enough that all the employees hear it. When she gets up to the counter, she says, "Can you believe that? Is he new?" The employee says, "That's not our employee, that's a student. Leave, you're not getting coffee." She says, "Oh, come on, I can't deal with this today. Just give me coffee with express." The employee says, "Apologize to them right now." She says, "Excuse me, who do you think you are? Give me my darn coffee." The employee says, "No, you're banned. Get out. If you don't, I'll call the campus police." She says, "This is just a big misunderstanding. Let me talk to the owner or the manager." The employee says, "No, apologize or leave. Last chance." She says, "How was I supposed to know any of this? I'm new. I just started. Can you please give me my coffee?" She was banned for the next 4 years she was at the school. The boss that she was talking to gave me a free coffee, saying, "I apologize on behalf of my gender that she exists." This is the only coffee shop the school has on campus. The other one near the school is about a 10-minute walk. It's also not on the main road coming to the school. I feel like oftentimes employees in that situation might be more than willing to overlook situations like that. So it's really awesome to hear about this employee that was working in a coffee shop so willingly standing up for somebody. It would have been so easy for that employee to just ignore all of it, get the person their coffee, and just not given a single care at all. But they chose the path that restores a little bit of faith in humankind. Our next story is by Mental L. Racist lady pushes me because she mistakes me for an employee. A bit of backstory, I moved to the UK when I was like 10, so I have only lived in England for 5 years. So English is not my first language. I'm Asian and I speak mostly every language in Asia due to my dad making us travel all my life. However, due to the fact that I settled in England, I go around to Chinese, Japanese, Korean communities to not forget the languages I learned. So we were at a festival in the park, and I was speaking to one of the stall owners who was speaking in Mandarin to a kid. And when this happens, I get excited, so I went up to him and started speaking. The stall owner was shocked as, even though I just called myself Asian, I actually come from Pakistan, which is right next to India. And this is still Asian, but for some reason I need to say India for people to know where I'm from, because most people don't know India is part of Asia. So to the shopkeeper, I looked Indian, however, I kind of look Asian, so to any regular old white Karen, I'll look like I'm somewhere from China or somewhere. So me and the stall owner were talking about stuff, and the stall keeper went to the back of the stall to get something. Here enters Karen. She screams at me, "I want 2 pretzels." I had only lived in England for 3 months at this point, so I got scared, because I was like, pretzels, and I shot it to the man. This woman wants 2 pretzels, because I could understand, just not speak. This lady was getting impatient and told me to go get them with a lot of hostility. I didn't move because I didn't work there. She then pushed my shoulder and started gesturing very rudely, like I was an idiot. She then got so annoyed and tried to grab my top, but I moved away. Luckily, my savior, the stall owner, came back and saw what just happened and said he doesn't work here. And she screamed, "Well, how am I meant to tell the difference?" Now me and the stall owner were in shock. Luckily, Chinese people can be the best people I've ever met, so he stood up for himself and said, "Take your attitude somewhere else." She then threatened to get the manager of the festival, and he said, "Even if you got the queen, I wouldn't serve you." That made me laugh, and Karen walked off in a mood. Let's be real though, if she did get the queen, I feel like they would serve them. This Karen's like, "Oh yeah, prove it," and just pulls the queen out from out of nowhere. I'd be like, want a pretzel, queen? This next story is by Tomono, "What's the Wi-Fi?" and other stories. When I was in college, there was a bar I would regularly stop at on my way home for a nightcap. It was closer to the private college than the school I attended though, so most of the people there were A, pretty entitled, and B, assumed I worked there for reasons I'll explain in a moment. After about a month, I knew the owners and all the employees, and if I was around at the end of the night, I'd lend a hand. Mostly just moving an empty can and glass the extra foot or two to the receptacles, pushing in a chair on my way to the head. Nothing major. We'd hang out at other places too, so it was more like helping my friends with something than anything else. Other customers would routinely ask me why I wasn't taking orders, cleaning tables, etc. Some folks actually insisted that I did work there because I know everyone. My favorite instance of this was when some girl claimed that I worked there and handed me her phone to enter the Wi-Fi password. I just looked up at the wall, put it in, and handed back. Perhaps a missed opportunity on my part, but oh well. As someone who buys clothes at Goodwill and Walmart, I long for that kind of financial confidence. I also had someone tell the owners they ought to fire me for being drunk on the job. I was quickly terminated, and then we did shots to celebrate that we no longer worked together. My most interesting time was alumni night. The place was packed to capacity shortly after I got there and ordered a beer. After finishing my drink, I figured I'd get a breath of fresh air. As more people showed up, one of the bartenders came out to tell people they couldn't let anyone else in, and then saw me and asked if I could do them a solid tonight. I obliged and spent the next couple hours barring people from entry, confiscating drinks they weren't allowed on the porch, telling angry patrons that, yes, they did need to leave, and eventually negotiating with a cop once a noise complaint was called in on the crowd gathered at the sidewalk. I got a drink for free that weekend, so I guess I did work there for a minute. Maybe. Moral of the story, be nicer to folks in the service industry. I met a lot of jerks who acted that way because they thought I worked there and because they thought me working there made them better than me. Well, that definitely kind of stinks. You go to a bar to kind of unwind and just have a good time, and then you still have to deal with that customer service reaction. But hey, it probably got you a little bit more leniency around those places, got you a few free drinks every now and then. Wasn't all bad, and the way OP's talking about it, it sounded like it was a good time to reflect on all that stuff. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.